Hello, everyone. This is Backyard Musings, broadcasting live from the Double Wide. I'm Steve.
And I'm Scott.
So today's segment is probably going to piss you off. Probably, but we're looking at both sides, all right? A conservative think tank claims that a recent survey conducted in partnership with Rasmussen Reports show that over a quarter of Americans, that's 42 million of the 168 registered voters in 2020, engaged in ballot fraud during the 2020 presidential election. Oh, ballot fraud. We're talking about it. Okay? Yes, we're talking about it. That was not investigated in the 2020-2021. That was not investigated. The machines and all those other shenanigans were looked at. So, registered voter number that 168.2 comes from the U.S. Census Bureau. This drew questions about the study's methodology. The Heartland Institute claims that the widespread absentee ballot fraud caused incumbent President Trump to lose the 2020 presidential election. Was it not curious that after the election, numbers were rolling in days after, and Biden kept going up? And what did Biden say every day? Every vote needs to be counted.
Yeah.
That's what he said, and he meant it, right? Because of harvesting.
I agree, even though, you should get your vote in on time, and if you don't, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, well, maybe they need to do it, even if they change it and say all votes must be counted on that day, you can still get ballot harvesting coming in the same day.
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks before. Right?
Yeah, get some more honest volunteers that'll do that.
The highest findings included that 21% of mail-in voters admitted that they voted in a state where they are no longer a permanent resident.
Not good.
Another 21% admitting to filling out a ballot for a friend or family member. 17% stating they signed a ballot of a friend or family member without the voter's consent. So they signed it without their consent.
Really not good.
Right. And 19%, a friend or family member filled out their ballot in part or in full on their behalf.
That's kind of questionable.
Yeah, it is. When looking at the raw data, researchers concluded 28.2% of survey respondents who voted by mail admitted to committing at least one kind of voter fraud. If the person filling out the ballot does not have permission from the voter, as in multi-generational homes, there's there could be many voters in that home.
Sure.
Then the vote is invalid.
Yep. And fraud is wrong.
Right. Because Joe Biden significantly received more mail-in ballot votes than Trump, this survey, these people concluded that the 2020 election outcome would have been different in key swing states that Trump lost by razor-thin margins, like Pennsylvania, Georgia, Vegas, Nevada. Maricopa County, Phoenix,
Arizona.
Yeah, did I say Georgia?
No, you said
Georgia.
Yeah,
and Georgia. And you saw after the up to a week, maybe 10 days after, the numbers kept climbing for Biden.
Yeah, and what's the deal? I mean, you can't get your votes counted within a day or two. I mean, come on.
Well, if there's that many absentee ballots, then either hire more people or cut it off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's just Bush League.
So these people that did the research, they did 29 scenarios conducted where Trump would have won in all but 3 of the scenarios. And those 3 were when mail-in ballot fraud is limited to 1 to 3% of the ballots counted. And we're talking maybe a 1 to 3, 4, 5% difference in these swing, votes. You know what I mean?
But those numbers add up or don't add up, right?
The investigations of alleged fraud after the election in various states focused on fraud associated with voting machines, Dominion, we were talking about that, and behavior at polling stations by election officials. We talked about,
and we saw that
the cardboard in Detroit, hiding the windows with cardboard so you couldn't observe what was happening. Pressing the fire alarm, everybody clears out, and then in Georgia, and then pulling suitcases out.
Right?
Those kind of shenanigans, right? That's what we focused on, and it was proven. We'll see later. I'm giving both sides.
And those were all proven because they were all videoed.
The easiest type of fraud to commit, the various easiest, except for the dead voting, was not investigated. That's the ballot fraud, the easiest one. When Rasmussen announced the initial results of the survey in December, the organization was critiqued by multiple individuals, including David Thornton of the Racket News. Now we're getting into the other side.
Now we're going to hear this side.
Quote, I'll start by saying that two things are glaringly obvious if you read the article with a skeptical eye. One is that Rasmussen makes a giant leap in claiming that helping a family member or friend to fill out an absentee ballot is cheating or election fraud. Quote, the second is that Rasmussen does not claim that these helpers mark the ballots contrary to the wishes of the absentee voters. The statement that helping someone fill out their ballot is illegal is questionable at best. Well, obviously, we're not asking the person we're asking the person that filled out the ballot, right? So if they filled it out for someone else, we're not asking that voter, obviously.
Someone else.
Thornton stressed that the state he lives in, Georgia, allowed people to assist others in filling out their absentee ballots, adding, Rasmussen did not ask whether assistance was providing in accordance with state and local laws.
Yeah, define assisting.
Okay.
You know?
Oh, and there's different states, different laws.
Yep.
The point is that modern security, this is what Thornton is saying, modern security techniques make it very difficult to run a large-scale fraud operation. Thornton continued.
Well, it didn't have to be large, right?
It didn't have to be large scale.
1 to 3% we were talking about.
Just in those battleground states, counties, really. Mm-hmm. If a voter shows up at the poll and finds that their ballot has already been cast by an absentee, the whole scheme blows up. Well, duh. If it's already been voted, that's an illegal vote, right?
Somebody. Yeah,
it also blows up if signatures and identifying information don't match. Duh. That vote is wrong too. All right. So saying that these wrong things invalidates the other things, that's not right. In an interview with the Christian something CP, sorry I didn't write out the whole name, this week regarding the new report, Thornton said Heartland does not provide evidence that people who assisted in filling out ballots did so against the wishes of the ballot holder. Mail voting laws vary by state, so it isn't clear that the respondents broke the law in many cases. Heartland does not provide evidence that people who assisted in filling out ballots did so against the wishes of the ballot holder, Thornton said. In the case of people who claim they voted out of state, they don't provide evidence that they voted more than once in different states. You hear about evidence, provide the evidence. And evidence matters, but it's hard to do this when there's mail-in ballots. Thousands and thousands of them.
And they're exposing
the resources.
They're exposing them after the
the
polls are
dust
shut
settled,
down.
yeah.
It's just...
On a recount, they're physically counting. They're not checking signatures or anything like that. All right. In most cases, the poll respondents are simply saying that they helped someone fill out a ballot. That is not illegal. While it is possible to commit fraud in 1 or 2 cases of family members, Thornton said, it would be very difficult to mount a large-scale fraud operation to sway an election without being noticed. Well, like we say, it's just key areas. There were a multitude of fraud claims in 2020, but the claims that were made in court and under oath were starkly different and less inflammatory than the claims made on television and the internet, he said. Okay. Those claiming widespread fault impacting election results failed to present evidence that would stand up in court when they had the chance. So one of the guys from Rasmussen, his name is McFerrin, told this Christian periodical, he believes Thornton's arguments misrepresent the survey questions, such as the question asking if someone filled out a ballot for a friend or family member. There's nothing in the question about helping or assistance. And while there are instances in which designated parties are allowed to help voters with disabilities, such as blind, disabled, or illiterate persons, now blind, you could think that they could arrange to get Braille ahead of time. You know, if they're a registered voter, right? And illiterate, yeah, I guess. Disabled, if you're paraplegic, yeah, but or a quadriplegic, but not a paraplegic. It's hard to imagine that such instances are widespread, McFerrin responded. The act of filling out a ballot constitutes voting, as it is a necessary condition to making a vote effective and included in all the totals of votes cast. Our poll respondents all voted in 2020. This means that filling out another ballot constituted voting more than once, rendering the ballot illegal, except under limited exceptions. So we've got 2 different, positions here. I think what we can conclude is that there's a controversy about mail-in balloting and harvesting those ballots, right?
Absolutely.
It's a problem with it.
Yeah.
One side is saying, show me the evidence. The other side, well, after the dust settles, we need to look and do the surveys, and by then it might be destroyed, the evidence.
Yeah, you've heard the saying, let's keep the honest people honest, right? Let's all vote the same way.
Right.
It's all vote the same way. In
And-
person, they got to be counted that day or by the next morning.
And like
if you need more
legit,
people,
like military or overseas, legit,
Okay.
they can vote
they-
absentee.
they have.
If you're not in the state, don't get it unless you're out of the state. Don't get an absentee ballot.
right.
Go to the polling station and
Yeah.
drop it off.
It-
Not
yeah,
on the
don't
corner
mail it in.
where Wanda can come and drop off all of her votes
Yeah.
that she collected.
I mean, I would much rather, and we do. We take in our absentee ballots and drop them off at our polling place rather than leave them up to the possibility of the United States Postal Service not delivering them on time or whatever. So,
Right.
and that's another subject we could talk about. But anyway,
So we try to be fair.
yeah,
We gave two
both sides.
Both sides. Please give us your comments and don't be rude. Please give us your comments, and if they're good comments, we'll talk about them.
Yeah.
Until next time, thanks for listening.
Have a good day. Thank you.